Welcome, everyone, to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023. I'm Sebastian.
I'm Maggie.
And with us today, we've got on our ones and twos, we have good old Bryce.
That's what I'm here for.
And then a little special guest. You've seen him on VHS and our other videos on our Virtual Cocktail channel, Sean.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent.
And, this, is just our cast for VHS.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're up to date, you'll notice we're all wearing the same clothes as our next.
No, this comes out.
As our next VHS episode.
You will have noticed that we will be wearing
the
same clothes.
We will always be in the past. Always. Yeah.
Forever.
And yeah, we recorded these back to back.
Yeah.
But we also, it's kind of a big episode. This is a two-parter, which if you've clicked the video, you've probably already seen based off of the title.
Yeah.
We're talking about the MCU
Part 1
of 2023.
Yeah.
But before we get there, Sean, since you haven't answered this question before,
Yes.
Why did we start this podcast?
We started this podcast because it's just a wild year for movies right now. With things like 65 and all the other... how can you top 65? Barbenheimer, Barbie, Oppenheimer, all this crazy stuff. It's just a fun year for movies right now. So it's time. If there's a year for movies, it's this year.
That's, correct.
Got the sponsor in 65.
Yeah, that's correct. And I want to say for audio viewers, Sean is calling remotely, so that's why his audio is going to be a little bit different.
A little bit laggy.
Yeah.
If you like the podcast, it's super cool if you do, then consider supporting us on Patreon. We'd super appreciate it. Leave reviews, follow us on places, and all that good stuff. It
There's
really
a
helps.
link to our Patreon in the description.
Yeah.
Or our Instagram.
Yeah. We appreciate it. So, yes, this is going to be,
I'm dying. Sorry. We're kind of recovering from sickness. Right
yeah,
now.
everyone is doing well. Okay, so
Congestion.
This is a different episode, like we said. We're going to split this into two parts because 3 Marvel movies came out this year, or 3 MCU movies came out this year. I think we mentioned in a different episode we're not doing the Spider-Verse movie as part of this.
This is not part of it. We will do a separate episode just on the Spider-Verse movie.
So part 1 is going to be an overview of the MCU. All the stuff that led us to this moment in history, and then Quantumania, which is the first one that came out this year, and also the 30th Marvel movie.
Wow. Did we see that one together? Who? Or did I see?
We
with
saw
you?
it.
Which one?
Quantumania. I know.
We all went and saw
We
it.
all-
Yeah,
okay.
we all went and saw that one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That is wild to me.
That it's the 30th.
Well, no, that was this year
Oh yes.
that we went and
That too.
Yeah, that does feel like
that we went and did that.
Yeah.
I mean, Mario Brothers feels like
Oh my,
a whole
yeah.
nother
Forever
year.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Time.
Yeah.
So yeah, for a question for the room, what is your relationship with Marvel movies and or comics?
I like them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something that I grew up with.
Mhm.
I feel like we all grew up in the time where comics and superheroes and everything was becoming mainstream, right? Like 90s and early 2000s was like, when like the successful superhero movies were like becoming a thing, and people were like, oh, that's cool, like you can be cool action films, but what are the comics? And then by the time MCU happened, it was just like, yeah, it's cool to like comics right now. But no, I remember for my 12th birthday, we went and saw the Avengers.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Bryce?
You were 12 when the Avengers came out?
Pretty sure it came out in 2012, right?
Yes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That was earlier.
No, Avengers came out in 2012.
Yeah, the Avengers 2012. I have a list of the phases.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing I didn't see any other Avengers movie or any other Marvel movie until I saw the Avengers. It was the second movie playing at an outdoor movie theater, and I slept through most of it.
Mhm.
I grew up with the comics, but Marvel was kind of there. I was more of a DC Comics kind of person. And then I started getting my hands on the longer, like compendium novels instead of like the little one-off issues, I should say. And then what got me into the MCU was I picked up a novelization of Iron Man 2 at a garage sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I read it and I loved it. And I was like, where can I get me some more?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then I read the Incredible Hulk novelization.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is awesome. This should be a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, there are. And oh boy, one of those novelizations movies is better than the other. And so then that sent me down a rabbit hole of just going back, retracing my steps. And what 2 movies came out after the Avengers?
Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
It was Iron Man 3 where I started. I watched that one intentionally because the other one was just it came on afterwards. But we went and saw Iron Man 3. That's what got the ball rolling, and I've just been keeping up with it since. And it's also it's interesting to see such an expansive cinematic universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what intrigued me because I was like, oh, there's more and more and more, and then I can look in depth. And I want to save my opinions for later. There is I found there is a breaking point to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's for later.
Yeah.
Sean?
So, comics-wise, I was never like, I don't even know if I've read many, if any, full Marvel comics. When I was reading comics, it would be like Star Wars type of stuff. But as far as the movies go, this is pre-MCU, but I guess what really started getting me into this idea of superheroes was the Tobey Maguire, Raimi, Spider-Man films.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's where I was like, oh, superheroes are pretty cool type of things. And we'd watch, like, the Incredible Hulk TV show, which starred Bill Bixby from Courtship of Eddie's Father and My Favorite Martian, real older show. Lou Ferrigno was in it. So those would be, like, my seminal superhero sort of stuff that got me going on superheroes. And then Iron Man came out, and I was like, oh, this Iron Man guy is pretty cool. So I liked the Iron Man movies, and I actually watched all of the Marvel movies in theaters intentionally, except for Thor: The Dark World, which I had to watch on a plane, which kind of hindered its performance in my memory. But yeah, longtime fan, I suppose, of the Marvel shows and movies. But I wouldn't say I really got like, oh, I'm really into this. This is a deep lore, and I'm really, really into this until Ragnarok, and that's when I was like, I'm in.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
So that's me.
Yeah, I think I have never really been big into comics. I definitely I didn't see like Iron Man in theaters or anything. I feel like I never watched Iron Man until after I saw Iron Man 2. But both of those were like every once in a while my mom is really into an action movie, and those were the ones that she was into, so like because she liked them, then I got on board faster. Yeah, I was never super like invested in getting into the comics or anything, but the idea of like making all of these movies and making a cinematic universe was very interesting. It still is very interesting to me. I agree, though, there is a breaking point with that.
Yeah.
It was nice at the beginning with, even before they wanted to make the universe with Tobey Maguire and everything.
Yeah.
And then starting to pull that thread of, oh, they're all together. But
yeah.
My thing, and I've talked about this with Sean, is just, I really like when things feel grounded, and when you keep widening your scope and everything that you do, it's hard to make things feel grounded. So everything just feels so what is happening, and it's just all over the place.
Yeah,
and it's not as simple as it was when it was just one man in a spider suit.
Yeah.
That was, and I completely forgot to mention that was the first. I didn't even register that it was part of a wider, Avengers thing. I thought the Avengers were side characters.
Yeah.
Because whenever I was younger, it was all in on Spider-Man, all in on Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of it with the comics when they were first being a thing. Avengers weren't huge.
No,
right? Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Was the big team, and
X-Men.
X-Men.
Yeah.
And that Fantastic Four introduced Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I know more about Marvel than DC, but
that's fair. I had a little bat computer that had little math games on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cheapy thing.
Yeah.
But and I actually remember seeing Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3 in that same outdoor movie theater.
Nice.
And loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
It's a great movie for kids.
It's the best thing, and I refuse to watch it again because I have that perfect memory of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will not change that.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I definitely knew of the Justice League as a team of superheroes more than I knew the Avengers before any of the movies came out.
Yeah.
I feel like they were a bit bigger in the mainstream. So, development timeline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So just how Marvel Entertainment happened. So in 2005, Marvel Entertainment was happy with some productions, but not others that showcase their characters. So they decided to raise money to make their own films independently. So for example, they were really happy with the Spider-Man movies. Everyone really loved that. So Avi Arad founds Marvel Studios. It's the first major independent studio since DreamWorks, founded in 1994. 2007, Kevin Feige is named the studio chief. 2008, the MCU launches with Iron Man. 2010, Marvel Television is launched. 2012 to 2016, various shows are created for ABC and Netflix. 2015, Marvel Studios is integrated into Walt Disney Studios. 2017 to 2018, there were development for series for Disney+. 2019 was a big year for MCU development. So February 2019, Netflix cancels all of its Marvel series. October 2019, Feige is now the chief creative officer of Marvel Entertainment. Marvel Television is then folded into Marvel Studios in December. And then also at some point during 2019, Disney closes its deal that it had been working on for 2 years that acquires 21st Century Fox assets, which includes Deadpool, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, among other things. And then July 2023, Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, says that they will be reducing spending and creation of Marvel content, saying that the massive expansion has, quote, diluted focus and attention with films underperforming at the box office. Underperforming for Marvel is a different level of underperforming than any other movie.
And a big reason is because Bob Chapek,
Previous Bob.
Chapek, the Bob that came after Bob Iger and before Bob Iger. Sean and I were just talking about this. Is that something that he would do for investor days or whatever? He would announce all of this stuff so investors would be like, ooh, and he'd make all these promises that didn't make the money that he promised the investors that it would.
Gotcha.
And then it still made lots of money. Everything that's done has made lots of money. It's just not made Disney lots of money.
Yeah. So yeah, there's been some pretty massive growth all essentially after 2008. For any company, this is truly wild, unprecedented success. And now in 2023, I feel like even before 2023, within the last couple of years, I feel like every once in a while, like whenever a Marvel movie comes out, there's also then a bunch of like articles and stuff that are like, is there superhero burnout about movies? And that's definitely been a bigger thing this year, just based off of the performance of some of the movies that we will get into in a bit. So the phases, there's again 30 movies. So phases 1 through 3 are all about the Infinity Saga. This is like what you were saying of like, it keeps it grounded in some way. It's all going towards one larger thing. So Iron Man 2008, The Incredible Hulk 2008, Iron Man 2 in 2010, Thor in 2011, Captain America, The First Avenger in 2011, and The Avengers 2012 are all within phase 1. Phase 2 is Iron Man 3 2013, Thor The Dark World 2013, Captain America The Winter Soldier 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy 2014, Avengers Age of Ultron 2015, Ant-Man 2015.
God, it's just so wild that like the first phase took 4 years and you get 5 movies?
6, yeah.
6? Okay.
Yeah.
4, you get 6 movies in 4 years.
Yeah.
And
then we get to phase 3.
And then phase 3, and it just exploded.
Phase 3 is Captain America Civil War 2016, Doctor Strange 2016, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 2017, Spider-Man Homecoming 2017, Thor Ragnarok 2017, Black Panther 2018, Avengers Infinity War 2018, Ant-Man and the Wasp 2018, Captain Marvel 2019, Avengers Endgame 2019, Spider-Man Far From Home 2019.
I guess we also didn't mention in the timeline that at some point Sony and Marvel made a deal so that Spider-Man could be used in the MCU, since Sony still owns the rights to Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah. And I know like so many people are aware of all of this, but it's just,
it's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phase 3 blows up.
Yeah.
That I think it's interesting when like the phases, like in the way that they organize them, they're like, and now a palate cleanser with Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
Or Ant-Man. Like, we get this as a lot. Yeah. And then phase 4 through 6, as announced, are going to be the Multiverse Saga, which is where people kind of hear the name and burn out immediately.
Yeah.
I know people that hear multiverse and they say, oh no, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even just with Marvel, just like in general. Some people are really into multiverse, some people do not care about it. So that is Black Widow 2021, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings 2021, Eternals 2021, Spider-Man No Way Home 2021, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness 2022, Thor Love and Thunder 2022, Black Panther Wakanda Forever 2022. Phase 5 is what we are in now. That is Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 2023, The Marvels 2023, Deadpool 3 in 2024, Captain America Brave New World in 2025. And then Phase 6 currently is Fantastic Four in 2025, Thunderbolts 2025, Blade 2025, Avengers The Kang Dynasty 2026, Avengers Secret Wars in 2027.
Yeah, and so
anything can happen between now and then.
It's also these are just the movies.
Yes.
These aren't including any of the TV shows.
This
is a movie podcast.
Yeah. We're not talking about any of the TV shows?
I thought about including the TV shows, and then I was just like, this is too much.
Before we can I just say one thing about the TV shows?
Sure.
Before, like, the big Disney bubble burst, the TV shows were this discarded gem of, like, yeah, we're part of the universe, but the movies aren't going to talk about you.
It seemed like they had a lot more flexibility, just like in the actual company structure.
Yeah. And they were really good. And, like, yeah, it bugged me in the back of my head of, like, why can't they, see Iron Man or Luke Cage or stuff like that? But, like, Cloak and Dagger very much thrown under the rug. One of my favorite series.
Never watched that one.
It's really good. Runaways, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., obviously.
Yeah.
The Netflix ones.
The Netflix
Daredevil's
ones as well.
Daredevil's my favorite comic.
All of them like taking very different the Hulu and the network ones.
Yeah.
Which were Cloak and Dagger, Runaways, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
All had their vibe.
Yeah.
The Netflix ones, completely different vibe, and then the movies were their own thing.
Yeah.
But then once Disney started producing their own TV shows, then
all the same vibe.
It was all the same vibe, but then it took away the charm that they kind of had.
Yeah.
Felt like
It's a little bit corporate.
Loki season 2 is some of my favorite.
That's true.
MCU work that I've seen.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good in a movie sense.
But it is very cinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part, like, the cinematography of that show is beautiful.
Yeah. I just... TV, to enjoy it, has to feel different from a movie for me.
I get what you're saying.
Because I'm not here to watch a movie. I'm here to watch television.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I get that. Yeah. Yeah. Any other movie thoughts before I head on to things?
Sean, you got a thought before we move on?
We talking about movies? Or we talking about the TV? Either one.
Either.
I guess the Ant-Man, was that supposed to be a palate cleanser? Does anyone know, or was that like, because there was a whole lot of like, it was supposed to be done years before or something, and I thought they were just trying to like push it out at the last. They're like, we just got to get it out there.
Yeah, so that one was originally supposed to be Edgar Wright, like fully behind it. He wanted to direct it.
Are you talking about the 2015?
Ant-Man, yeah.
Cool.
But he didn't want it to be connected to the MCU, and that was like when the MCU was like really picking up, and so Marvel was like, no, if you're doing this, it has to be part of the MCU. It needs to tie in, and so he was like, well, I can't do that, and so he backed out. But they still used a lot of his script, but they did a lot of rewrites, and so that's why he's still credited in that movie.
Gotcha.
But he didn't really do much, and so like a lot of that stuff also very much does have Edgar Wright feels. Like all of the flashbacks and stuff are very Edgar Wright-esque. A lot of like how it is cut, I feel like, is still Edgar Wright-esque. Yeah. But that one was a weird, like, they wouldn't have ever made it had Edgar Wright not pushed for it. But they still didn't make what he pushed for.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So just a general quote that I found from a Variety piece on Ant-Man Quantumania in the box office. That I felt like applied to MCU in general. It says, "This year has been rough for comic book adaptations, a genre that's usually untouchable at the box office. Shazam! Fury of the Gods has also crumbled since opening in mid-March, earning a paltry $46 million to date. The $110 million budgeted sequel from Warner Bros. And DC is shaping up to have one of the worst results for a modern superhero movie. Still, box office analysts aren't crying superhero fatigue just yet, and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Sony's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse look to dominate at the summer box office. However, the results signal a near future in which studios can no longer release just any mega-budgeted comic book adaptation in theaters with the expectation it'll turn into a box office smash. In COVID times, Sony and Marvel Studios' Spider-Man No Way Home is the only superhero movie to cross the coveted $1 billion mark. Quality, a factor that detractors have complained is missing from Ant-Man 3, is more important than ever." This came out March 2023. It also highlights that every Marvel movie has debuted at number 1 in the box office, which I think is still true.
Is it?
I think so.
Even the Marvels?
I believe so. You know what? I'll double check that between now and whenever we record part 2.
Yeah.
Even Eternals?
Apparently.
I think Eternals did actually do well. Yeah. It just wasn't like
good
loved.
It wasn't that far past Endgame at that point, so I think there was still a lot of forgiveness or at least openness to whatever was coming next.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think some of the advertisements were even, they'd even mentioned Thanos by name, I think, and so that was a lot like, okay, we're talking about Thanos again, that's my guy, we're gonna go see Eternals.
Yeah, I saw a thing, I think it was in the previews for the Marvels, then they were talking about like how difficult it is because it is now so far away from the Infinity Saga, how difficult it is to keep people still interested in this, and how the trailers for the Marvels still mentioned Thanos, or like had a shot of him in it, as to be like, remember him? You remember how much you love this stuff? We got another one. We got number 33.
Yeah, my dad
32, whatever.
strongly stands behind the opinion that they should have stopped after
the Infinity Saga.
After the Infinity Saga. Which
yeah,
I can see both points.
I think it's still cool to continue it. I think it's really hard to keep people bought into it.
I think what Bob Chapek did was a mistake of going bigger. I think they should have kind of slowed down for a little while.
Yeah.
And then, well, because they only slowed down as much as they did because of COVID. It was going to be like right back, like 3 months after Endgame, we were getting more stuff, and like we only got a year off because of COVID.
Right.
But they should have just already done, like they should just like the break.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe even like multiple year break. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, I feel like one movie after a year that was just kind of like a standalone whatever. But because I feel like the problem is like too long of a break, people would be like, I
feel like for me it would have been okay, we have this great story and we hit the peak at Thanos.
Yeah.
And then we breathe. We breathe for a hot minute, kind of like how we got to breathe in phase 1 in between movies.
Yeah.
And then Ant-Man, Quantumania.
Well, it was Spider-Man, right? Far From Home?
After Infinity War?
Yeah. Or Endgame?
After Endgame, it was Spider-Man Far From Home, but it was Ant-Man and the Wasp after Infinity War. So it is kind of like use the Bug Boys as a palate cleanser for both of them.
So I mean, like after Endgame, like I was fine with like after Endgame, we had nothing for a year because of COVID, and then Far From Home. No,
Endgame and Far From Home came out in 2019.
Wait,
you thinking No Way or Far From?
No Way Home.
No Way is
2021.
Yeah, so No Way Home was the one that we got after COVID, right?
Well, Black Widow, 10 Rings, Eternals, and No Way Home all came out in 2021.
Yeah.
But No Way Home was the first one? No, it wasn't the first one?
No.
Oh.
Black Widow was the start.
Well, it should have been.
Yeah.
Because exactly.
Okay, like, I forgot about that.
Ant-Man, it just, everything about it, it's a good reset character. It's a good reset. But Paul Rudd is a good, like, all right, let's go get back into it, guys. Kind of.
I felt like if it had been like a year off and then we get No Way Home, where that one is like Spider-Man is dealing with the consequences. And Spider-Man is like this big character that everyone loves. He's, probably the most popular superhero of all time. And we get that one movie for that 1 year of just like, these are the consequences of what's happened. You get the whole like everywhere I go I see his face, referring to Iron Man.
That's Far From Home.
That's Far From Home?
Yeah. Far From Home, it goes to Italy. He's like, Iron Man, my guy, he's dead. Face. Spoilers.
Oh.
Yeah. No Way Home's the three of them.
Yeah,
Spoilers
I guess
again.
I just mixed the... Well, no, in No Way Home, you get the shot of him... Oh, man.
No, that's Far From Home.
That's wild. I'm really
it's right before he goes off to Italy.
Okay, I'm glad I'm
You're not the only one. I too am like, oh, wait, yeah, those were two.
That is,
it's almost like it's hard to keep 30 distinct plots separated in your head. Yeah.
And that's another thing is, like, it's also hard for people to get into the new movies because earlier you just like, oh, I have 5 or 6 movies that I need to watch before this. Sure, we can binge that.
Even, like, Thor, like, introducing a new character like that. It's like, cool. I know generally what this is about, but you don't need to watch anything previously to know more about this character. You can't really do that anymore, even with introducing new characters.
If you ask someone to be like, oh, you have to watch this new movie, it's really good. But to understand everything about it, you have to watch these 30 other movies. Like, whenever the new Guardians movie came out, I really wanted to go see it with my partner, but she was like, okay, what do I need to know beforehand? I was like,
everything.
Well.
Yeah.
And she was just flat out said, no.
Yeah.
No.
I did the advanced movie screening job thing that we do and have talked about before. I did that for the Marvels. And it was just me and this older guy who were watching the movie, and then I was asking him his opinion and stuff afterwards, and he was like, I was telling my son last night before I watched this that I was gonna be seeing this today, and he was trying to give me a rundown of the stuff that he need to know before watching it. He was like, I didn't understand a single thing that happened, but it looked great. I think teens will love it. Just man.
No, it's a real downside.
Yeah.
Like, I think they have like shot themselves in the foot a little bit, just because of how connected it is. Because like, this is what Westerns were 50 years ago or whatever, like 60 years ago. They were big in the 60s, 70s.
Time.
It's been a long time since I went to the Cowboy Museum. If you got me a week after that, I could have told you.
Yeah. This is what cowboy movies were when cowboy movies were big. But cowboy movies weren't connected. So they were able to at least like kind of do their own thing. But now it's just like, and I think that's when we start to see like other superhero things pop up. And I know this isn't movies, but like The Boys and then Invincible and The Tick which has had like popped up throughout the years. But like that's when you start to get like other stuff. But that leads to the superhero drain.
Yeah. It's interesting that the previous attempts before MCU, as far as like I think of them, are like superheroes taking themselves very seriously. And then MCU happened, and part of its success was like Robert Downey Jr. is incredibly charismatic. Like, and Iron Man does not take himself super seriously in that same way. But then also now we're at a point where that is seen as the new standard. So then stuff like The Boys happens, which is like, well, what if we just killed each other? Or what if they just sucked? And that's like the new take on it. I feel like we're just gonna loop back around again.
I mean, I'll say this and then drop it. I keep bringing up the shows, I'm sorry.
You're good.
But the beauty of the network more network shows was like, you can watch it, you don't have to get the, as much as I was like, oh, it'd be cool if they were more connected. It was great that they weren't connected for the rest of the population, because they didn't have to go through and watch 5 seasons of a TV show. And now you have to and pay for a Disney Plus subscription to see that, unless you get Creative Online. But it's just too much.
It's a lot.
Sean, what are you thinking?
Theoretically, like, weren't they supposed, like, the Disney Plus shows supposedly you didn't need to see them? I mean, like, they definitely enhance your experience for certain movies, but, like, weren't they saying that originally?
I feel like
they were saying that. That is so not true now.
I mean, like, again, that guy with the Marvels was like, I don't know who any of these characters are. I think they're great actresses and they seem like nice role models, but like he was also saying like that is his interpretation, is like his son told him about a show and he was like, I'm not gonna sit through all of that to watch this movie.
I mean, like, right off the bat, WandaVision, you have to see that to see Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and then that kicks off a whole bunch of stuff in that.
But you also have to watch WandaVision to understand who Rambo is in the Marvels.
Right.
And then you have to watch Miss Marvel to know who Miss Marvel is in the Marvels. So, like, the Marvels, like...
You have to watch 2 shows in a movie, at least.
At least.
And then, like, the 2 movies that Captain Marvel's in. 2 or 3 movies that she's in.
And maybe also Secret Wars, but don't.
You don't.
So bad.
I don't think you need to see that one. Like, in general, I don't think it's going to come back.
So many other media has done Secret Invasion better than Secret Invasion does. I'm rewatching Doctor Who. and they do a Secret Invasion better.
They do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they do with
Like,
the Zygons.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap. I never made that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It was really good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean, we cut you off. Did you have
Sean,
other
you had
thoughts?
more?
I mean, I guess maybe they were thinking like Miss Marvel and WandaVision is like, you do meet those 2 characters, like Rambeau and Kamala Khan, but maybe they were thinking in their own sort of executive sort of way. They're like, well, this is all backstory, but you don't actually need the backstory. We'll put some flash. Anyway, I don't want to talk about the movie that we're not going to talk about, but they'll get it fine enough, without him, like, because you could still know who Monica Rambeau is just by knowing she was the child in the first Captain Marvel movies. Still assuming you saw all the movies. But, like, I think maybe they kind of had this idea of, like, we don't need all this stuff to get what's going on if we lay enough breadcrumbs. The trick is you need it to, like, appreciate what's going on, I think, and there's a distinction that maybe they didn't.
I think the argument can be made for Rambeau. I don't think the argument could be made for Miss Marvel.
Rambeau at least
that one's a harder
in the first movie as a child.
But yeah, we'll talk about that movie in our second part. But
next week, yeah.
For now,
I just have some miscellaneous facts before we get into actual Quantumania. So Ant-Man Quantumania's working title was Dust Bunny. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was Hot Christmas, and the Marvels was Goat Rodeo. Just thought that was fun.
Goat Rodeo?
Yeah.
I like some Hot Christmas.
Yeah. Hot Christmas is fun. So the previous worst opening weekend for a Marvel movie was The Incredible Hulk in 2008 with $55 million. That's not adjusted for inflation or anything. I say previous because guess what? Next week we talk about a new one. And then when Samuel L. Jackson agreed to the Nick Fury role, he had a, quote, then unprecedented contract agreeing to 9 movies. The usual number for Marvel contracts now is 3-ish, and then it said that 9 to 12 is considered more rare. And I was trying to think of who the 12 was.
I don't know.
Besides just an updated Samuel L. Jackson contract.
Probably.
Anyway.
Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania?
What were your first impressions when you heard about this movie?
I was excited just because I love Paul Rudd and the Ant-Man movies. They've been some of my favorite just because they're more fun and comedic, and I am a comedic person. Bryce?
What they were trying to do, they did well. One of the big things that I love about Ant-Man is the fun play with sizes that they do, and they didn't really get to do that a whole lot because they were in Quantum Realm. I hate saying this because it was their whole thing and they did it right, but I wish they had spent so much time in the Quantum Realm.
That's fair. That's fair.
You're not alone in that opinion.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sean?
What were your first impressions?
Yeah, I also liked the first 2 Ant-Man movies. Ant-Man and the Wasp I thought was like really strong. I mean, they both were in my head, but I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was just like a fun time, a lot of comedy. And I was like, well, I've got faith. Even if they want to amp this up into a more dramatic looking thing, I was like, I'm game. Let's do this.
Yeah. I didn't really have any thoughts. I was just like, there's another one.
Yep.
Like, nothing too crazy.
Yeah. Synopsis?
So we're sorry. We're not going to do a trailer breakdown for all of these movies. No. Just because we are getting so in-depth with all of them. And also, we're talking about 3 of them. Yeah. So we're just going to give a general synopsis of the various
also just
plots.
Feels like because it's Marvel, you've probably seen the trailers. Even if you're not a Marvel person,
they're so mainstream. You're probably a little bit generally aware of what's going on.
Sean.
Yeah.
If you want to check if your phone is nearby.
Ooh.
If you want to if you want to check your
text.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Then you can read that their synopsis.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It is really long.
Yeah. Let's go for it. You want me to put a spin on it or just like an announcer?
Just read it.
Follow your heart.
Okay. Thanos is dead. The Avengers are heroes. Scott Lang has a memoir and good relationship with Hope Van Dyne. His daughter Cassie is a political activist for people who were blipped, and they have a strained relationship. Cassie reveals to Hope's parents Hank and Janet that she has been working on a device to establish contact with the quantum realm. Janet, who lived there and had a rough time, shuts off the device, but it's too late, and a portal opens up, and Scott, Cassie, Hope, Hank, and Janet are sucked into the quantum realm. Scott and Cassie are separated from the rest of the group and meet revolutionaries working against their new ruler, Kang. Gentora, one of the revolutionaries, reveals Janet leaving the quantum realm is partially responsible for Kang's rise to power. Janet had been working with Kang while they were both stranded to fix his multiverse machine, but she discovers he was exiled by his variants and plans to conquer the multiverse, so she sabotages him so he can't leave. Scott had to get the multiverse core to save Cassie. Kang was holding her hostage, and then things escalate until there's an uprising against Kang. There are big battle scenes with ants versus Kang's forces. Janet fixes things so they can all go home, and Scott sacrifices himself to fight Kang while everyone else escapes. But Hope comes back for him, and they defeat Kang together. Cassie opens another portal, and Scott and Hope return home, returning to their lives as Scott brushes off Kang's death as the beginning of terrible events happening.
I guess we probably should have said spoilers.
I was about to say spoilers.
Whatever.
Yeah, and then there is a mid-credit scene showing Kang's council of variants who are happy he died and planning their multiverse takeover, and then a post-credit scene shows Loki and Mobius watching a demonstration from a Kang variant, Victor Timely, at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which ties into the Loki season 2.
Yeah, so they very much are tying the movies into the TV show.
Reading or listening to that description, because it's been like a couple weeks since I wrote that synopsis. Just listening to it, it's like, man, I know what all of these words mean, but when you put them together with or without context, you really do have to watch so many movies to understand what any of this means.
There's a lot of names.
Yeah, a lot of names, a lot of realms, a lot of science.
The cast. We have Paul Rudd as Scott Lang / Ant-Man. Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne / Wasp. Michael Douglas as Dr. Hank Pym. Michelle Pfeiffer as Janet Van Dyne. Catherine Newton as Cassie Lang. Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror. Corey Stoll as MODOK. Bill Murray as Lord Krylar. Katie O'Brien as Gentora. Obviously many more. The one that I can think of is David Dastmalchian is in it. Who was in the previous two Ant-Mans as the Russian
Veb.
But in this one, he plays the glob who wants the holes.
Do you think Bill Murray has seen all the movies?
No.
I don't think Bill Murray has seen a single MCU movie.
He just walked up on set like, what am I doing?
Yes, right. That's exactly what Bill Murray was doing.
You're welcome.
He said, give me $10 million. I'll be on camera for maybe 5 minutes.
It was so short.
I'm going to go hang out with Wes Anderson now. Randall Park is also in this as his character Jimmy Woo, who shows up in a bunch of other things. It's a big cast. William Jackson Harper plays Quaz. That's the telepath dude.
Oh yeah.
Cheating.
Yep, he's in The Good Place. Yep.
Yeah. It's a big cast. Katie M. O'Brien, I enjoy. She's Katie M. O'Brien on IMDb, but Katie O'Brien as Gentora.
Yeah.
She's in
Mandalorian.
Yep. Mandalorian or
Yep.
Mandalorian.
She's in Mandalorian.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was Andor.
No, it's a character that you would think would be in Andor, but it's in Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. She's great. She's also in a bodybuilding movie with Kristen Stewart that I thought was going to come out this year, but it's coming out next year, as far as I know. Yeah.
Now we can't talk about it.
Never again.
Was Jack Black in a Marvel movie recently? Or Marvel
he was in Star Wars.
He was in Super Mario Brothers, the movie.
I feel like
He was in Mandalorian.
Because I remember seeing him in Mandalorian going, whoa, Jack Black. And then I remember seeing him in something Marvel going, whoa, Jack Black.
I don't think so.
Let me look at.
Not that I know of.
Let me check.
I mean, so I think just general thoughts of the movie.
Yeah, this is the part in my notes where normally I have like talking points for us. It just says thoughts ?
Yeah. I understand why this wasn't a movie people liked. I still enjoyed it, but I think I'm also at a point of, because they made such a masterclass of a huge story with the Infinity Saga.
He was not in Marvel. Sorry, keep going.
Everything now is what we in our family call free baseball. And that's extra innings.
Yeah.
It's just like anything we get now is just like, take it in, you know?
Yeah.
You paid for 9 innings, but we're getting more.
Yeah.
And like, I know we're paying for all of this extra stuff too, but like everything after this is just like all of the stuff that has just been in comic book format for decades is now making the big screen or the TV screen or whatever. And like, even if it's like not for me, I'm just like, this is still cool that it's happening. And so any of the stuff where I'm just like, I'm still like, that was fun. I had fun. And Quantumania, I still think was a pretty good movie. Like I agree, like it requires so much backstory. I know people had a problem with the CGI. I'm usually a pretty stickler for the CGI stuff. I didn't think the CGI was that bad. There were only a couple times where I was like, that's a little goofy of a green screen room. I thought MODOK looked fine. Like, there's only so, like...
He looks the best they could have done.
Yeah, which, like, is exactly how I felt about it. And it's just like, you know what MODOK looks like in the comics and animation.
And you also know what Corey Stoll's face looks like.
Why would you expect it to look any different?
This is a stupid character.
He's supposed, like...
You're gonna get something stupid. Like, the only way you could do it, like, decently good was the way that they did it with the Patton Oswalt thing.
It's claymation.
Claymation, yeah. Because bringing that to life, it's not gonna look... realistic? I guess.
Realistic doesn't feel like the right word, but
it does
yes.
not, yeah.
So any of the complaints that I saw about that, I was just like, come on, guys.
If you don't know what MODOK looks like, he is a face, a big stretched out face with little arms and legs and like a little floaty chair.
He's basically like, if you take someone's regular body and then you make his head gigantic, and then his head has to be supported by a floating chair. Yeah.
The style of MODOK in Quantumania, I feel like we talked about it after we first watched it, was like Spy Kids and Shark Boy and Lava Girl type of...
Yeah, I know that like that's a lot of what the internet said. I still thought it was better. I mean, this movie...
I don't mean that in a bad way. That was just like...
Yeah.
She's like,
this movie, a lot of their CG, like a lot of like people's online comparisons were to Spy Kids and all of that stuff. It's nowhere near that bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like...
It's not that bad. I do have stuff that we'll get into later about the CGI and the that whole fun thing that people went through to make that movie. I think you can be a little bit more forgiving because, again, realistic is not the right word because the quantum realm, as far as we know, doesn't exist.
And it's supposed to be a place that's really trippy.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you expect that, like...
Yeah.
I forgave it a lot because I was more relieved that they didn't stick with the because in the trailer they just had him in his mask.
Yeah.
Which had the grimacing face, and I was like, oh, they're just going to make it a mask. That's... dumb. But then whenever they opened it up, I was like, oh yeah, it has a real face.
Yes.
I just thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
Like, especially because of like the different backstory that they gave this MODOK. I thought it really played into how goofy it looked because he was also being very goofy.
They're making fun of him the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought it worked.
Yeah.
The story wise, and it just... and I don't know how to properly phrase this, but his face didn't work for big face. Like there's faces you can make
have
big.
A face you can stretch.
Like there's faces you can make big.
I get
know
what you're
like,
saying
like,
because Corey Stoll has like a narrow, tall face.
Yeah. And making it big was just like whoa, but like you get someone like Hellboy, Ron Perlman, who's got a big face, or the
I was just gonna say George Lopez because I think he has kind of a wide face.
George Lopez too, yeah.
And Spy Kids.
Yeah.
And Spike.
Yeah.
They did that.
Yeah.
And the Mr. Electric
Thanos
thing.
Josh Brolin
Oh,
has a face you can
Shark
make big,
Boy.
and boy did they make it big.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
I get what you're
that's
saying.
the one thing
I get
that
what you're
irked me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I thought the movie was fine. Sean, what do you think of the movie?
I liked it. I thought it felt kind of like, I mean, it didn't feel like a normal Ant-Man movie, which I kind of was expecting a bit more of a normal Ant-Man movie than we got. I shouldn't have. It was sort of raised as a sort of more epic seeming dramatic thing. But I just kind of, I don't know. I hoped there would still be a bit more general Ant-Man energies I just like the small jokes and stuff. But I liked it. I thought it felt kind of like, in my head, it was like an 80s sci-fi movie, but like done with a solid budget nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
That's the energy I kind of felt. But I enjoyed that. I liked it.
No, it definitely.
I didn't have any beef with the big head. Sorry. No beef.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, like you were saying, that it's not like a typical Ant-Man movie. I think it's interesting that they use Ant-Man as the vehicle to launch Kang as the villain, as like this big bad, because like he's got some like secrets and whatever that like throughout sprinkled and hinted at throughout the movie, but yeah, because they still defeat him at the end, and then you see all the variants afterwards. I don't know, it's just like it doesn't set up, and to me at least, it doesn't set up a Thanos level villain as effectively as like Loki the show does, which also focuses on Kang.
Yeah, that's fair. Question. I'm gonna pose a question. Do you think the movie would have been better, or do you think audiences would have liked the movie better had Ant-Man died in it?
No.
Okay.
I think they're tired of superheroes dying that they like.
I mean, maybe if Hank Pym made a sacrifice, or him and Janet Van Dyne made a sacrifice, maybe. I don't know if it would have added to it. Ant-Man, although he is a tragic character, his story is, something that brings levity to the whole franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel like making him a tragic character,
it would have been a hard pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have added anything.
Sean?
It certainly, like, there were moments where it certainly felt kind of like it might go that way. I felt like in the fight scene and all that jazz, it's like, well, is he going to have to sacrifice himself to beat Kang here? And I don't know, I mean, narratively in the moment, it almost felt like maybe that would have made sense. But again, in sort of the long-term arc of things, I think it's good to still have Ant-Man around. And then there's, let me pose a counter question. Do you think it would have helped the movie if Ant-Man and the Wasp were trapped down in this quantum realm, as it almost seemed like they might have been before Cassie sort of opens that portal and picks him up, like it was nothing,
My thing is with that one, no, because the whole thing was like someone else was trapped there, and so it's just like
if you have someone else trapped, then like you clearly already found a solution the first time, or like it's not that daunting anymore. They can open up a portal to the quantum realm. They should be cool with things now.
Yeah.
If they had done that, I think then they would have had to do something more with like the multiverse machine, or like going into things that way, and I don't think Ant-Man is the right character to do that with.
Yeah.
You gotta have someone else
and
discover big
this
secrets.
Sort of connects to my grounded thing. Like, when I like things grounded, and the reason why I loved the first two Ant-Mans is because they are pretty grounded, and they are relatively their own thing.
It starts out with a guy, like, working at Baskin-Robbins.
Yeah.
Buying his daughter
but
an
now
ugly
it's
doll.
turning into this huge cosmic thing that's connecting into, like, introducing the new big bad that's supposedly bit bigger than Thanos. And, like, in the comics, there could be a story that is bigger than Thanos. But, like, it's weird to take the grounded hero. It's just like if Daredevil was all of a sudden fighting Kang and going into space and doing all of this.
As much as we love Daredevil, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Don't
like
put
that's
him in
also like
space.
why I love Daredevil, is just because he's so grounded and like a street level hero, and it's just like
Maybe that's why that they did that, was that people, besides Spider-Man, who I think is also the other like favorite that people have, then they like, this is the other most lovable person that you can introduce this whole other thing with. Like, people are pretty familiar with Ant-Man, so let's balance that with the new big bad and like trust us that this will work out.
I feel like they needed to go darker then.
With Kang?
With Quantumania, because it's like, if you're taking this lovable character as the way that you're introducing the big bad, then you need to show me that it's going to change our lovable character even.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's taking Paul Rudd and like you do see that in that fight scene of how serious Paul Rudd gets.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was enough for me to like really be like, oh, yeah.
For how it ended.
This is serious.
Yeah, for how it ended with him like being like, haha, and nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't have as much emotional payoff, I think.
Yeah, I think they gave it with his like, oh, did I just screw things up? I think that, I don't know, it gave me the sense that they were kind of going for with, this is the next big bad, you know, this is, you know, it's messing with even Scott, and he's like going to a spiral. I do think they need to start killing off some of the main heroes, but I don't think it should be long and drawn out, like half a movie kill Black Widow, half a movie, the second half of the movie kill Iron Man. Spoiler alert. And like, I don't think I think there needs to be a group of like, oh yeah, this is a solid group of people. They go in, Kang wipes them out.
Yeah.
I think that would set a good tone, because no one is ceremoniously being killed. There's no ceremony. It's just, this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And you will die.
Yeah.
Well, it's like killing off Loki, and obviously that didn't really
Other spoilers.
mean
you know
anything.
what? Just assume you're gonna get
But
spoilers.
like, Infinity War begins with Loki being killed.
Right.
I feel like they need to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a further back problem that I had. They should have introduced Captain Marvel earlier. They should have started her as Miss Marvel, brought her up to Captain Marvel, and then start introducing Kamala Khan.
But Bryce,
and then kill off Captain Marvel.
Are you not aware that those are women?
Yeah, I forgot to factor that part in.
And before 2019, we didn't have
women
movies
weren't
about
invented
women.
yet.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking a little bit more forward. How we should have,
Bryce,
Bryce,
I don't think you're listening.
Female,
Bryce, I don't think you're listening.
Strong female characters.
No, Bryce,
earlier
you're not listening.
In human history, it
women weren't
nice.
a thing. How do you think forward when they're not a thing?
Oh, that's right. That's right. No. No, because I love those characters. Those characters are great. I just think, they're like, oh, society is ready for the female character now. Let's just shove it all down the pipe. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Let it marinate. Give it some time to breathe, airate.
Yeah,
I want
a whole other conversation.
Like they did with early Iron Man. I meant like pacing wise.
Yeah.
Like they did with the early Avengers.
Yeah.
How they like gave you time to breathe in between.
And didn't give the woman her own movie, but the other ones got their own movies. You're right. That's the way it should.
What?
Because Black Widow never got a movie before
Avengers
came out. She just showed up.
Yeah.
Oh, they just say.
But to be fair, neither did Hawkeye.
Would you want to watch a Hawkeye movie though?
I mean, after the TV show, probably.
Some characters are meant to be side characters.
I thought the TV show was good, but we're not here to talk about
the TV show is good, yeah. But like, I'm not gonna watch a Bucky Barnes TV show. I'm gonna watch Bucky Barnes and Falcon.
Yeah.
Because together they make a whole.
Yeah.
It's a side character. Sorry.
No, I get it.
I have a question.
Okay.
Because it's also been forever, aka several months, since we watched this movie.
Yeah.
The Quantumania King. Was he actually bad?
Yes.
Or was he just like, was he not the same bad as the King variants? I'm confused.
They're all bad, and they're all fighting each other.
Yeah.
To be the baddest of the bads.
Okay.
And then in Loki, the goodest of the bads is He Who Remains.
Right. He's the goodest, not Victor?
Yeah.
Well, he's like the only good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so like
he's like the only good variant.
Yeah, Victor's like the he is good.
Okay.
From what we can tell. He Who Remains is the only
chaotic neutral.
I guess chaotic neutral. True neutral.
The one in Quantumania was bad. He just didn't want to unionize.
Yeah.
Okay.
And He Who Remains
worse.
He Who Remains was just like, there will be an infinite amount of bloodshed if I don't kill everyone.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's why I mean, like, goodest of the bad. He's
Yeah.
still bad.
Yeah.
But he is
Gotcha.
the most structured, I guess.
Okay.
You think he's bad? I mean,
yeah, he's bad.
You sure he's bad? I don't know. He had some thoughts.
That's another thing with this villain is like there's
gonna put on a stall door. He Who Remains was right.
Yeah.
And Hawkeye's or
HWR.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, that's my question.
Facts?
Yeah, production facts. Any other thoughts on the movie before we go to production facts?
It was fine.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember much from it, but I remember having a good time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. All right. Production facts. It was released. That's one fact. It premiered in Westwood, Los Angeles on February 6, 2023. It had a national release on February 17th. It swapped release dates with the Marvels due to being farther along in its production, allegedly. Everything was still super rushed at the last minute, but I guess the Marvels was even farther behind. It has a 2-hour and 4-minute runtime with a PG-13 rating. Ratings, critical reception, it's got a 46% on Rotten Tomatoes with an 82% audience score. Wow. 48 out of 100 on Metacritic, and a B on Cinema Score. Both critic and audience review consensus on Rotten Tomatoes highlights Jonathan Majors as the movie's clear standout. Yeah.
Was it a successful movie?
So it depends on who you ask.
You.
You're on the hot seat.
The numbers are bigger, so I say yes, but movie money is different money, so no.
Star Wars money is different.
Yeah. So the budget was $200 million. At the box office, it got $476.1 million. Around $214 million is domestic, and the rest is international. It's still
feels like a success to me.
Feels like a success. It's still considered a box office flop, though. Marvel movies essentially. So I read this at one point that Marvel movies have a $500 million benchmark that they have to meet in order to be considered like on the successful side for Marvel movies. And then this movie specifically needed $600 million to break even.
Wow.
Which
with marketing and everything.
With marketing and yeah. So it had the strongest initial opening of the trilogy with $106 million domestic, but it had a 69% drop in the second weekend, to $32 million. Wow. Yeah. And then the other two in the series earned $519 million and $622 million.
Well, we've been seeing a lot of those sharp drop-offs.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. I feel like I've been hearing a lot more about that.
Yeah.
And I think it's because the people who are gonna go see this, or who are still engaged, are gonna see it when it comes out. I remember that's how I was for the longest time. I was like, I gotta see it right when it comes out.
Yeah.
And I've dropped off that, but I feel like those people are still hanging out, are going to do that. But then this doesn't appeal to the general audience enough that people aren't going to linger on like, oh, yeah.
Well, if you're in phase 5, you're probably also willing to go see it opening weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also not really worth it to go like as much, I feel like, to see go for rewatches. Mm-hmm. Because it's gonna come to Disney Plus in 3 months.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like before, it was like a while before you could see it anywhere. But now it's just like, I'll just watch it in a couple months again once it's on TV. And like I see tons of people online, they're like, yeah, I saw it once in theaters, thought it was okay, but once I watched it again, I was like, oh, this is really good. But because it's so quick to streaming, people are just gonna wait.
Yeah, that's what I did with India, and I love Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
one of my favorite movie franchises. I waited for Dial of Destiny.
Still haven't seen it.
I know. Yeah, we were talking about recently of we should have seen that in theaters, and then we still haven't watched it on streaming yet.
I will give a solo review. I'm kidding.
I saw it in theaters. We can do a spin-off.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
That's the name of your podcast, is I Saw It in Theaters. It's only talking about movies you have seen in theaters.
I saw it in theaters. Brag.
Yeah. So director Peyton Reed has done all 3 movies in the series. Marvel was/is interested in finding new filmmakers, but felt Reed's understanding of Ant-Man as a character was worth keeping him on to finish the trilogy. I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just give the director the trilogy of if most Marvel big characters, they get the 3 movie treatment.
Yeah.
Give the guy all 3 of them. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors was cast as Kang without an audition. He was approached by Marvel because of his role in The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Because of the overall Marvel story timeline, the Loki director and head writer were also involved in the casting process. And then the critical reviews are consistently positive of his performance. There's a Collider article that says he makes for an excellent villain who brings nuance and subtlety to his character. Majors makes this character Kang likable in the beginning, but also never hides the menace and terror that he can cause at any moment. I think he's a good actor. He's in the news.
He certainly is in the news right now.
Yeah.
That's a whole back and forth.
Yeah. So that's why I said earlier of allegedly right now Kang Dynasty will come out in 2027 or whatever it is, but
who knows? Disney they canceled the movie that he was in through them.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I think you did. There was a different movie that Disney was producing that he was in.
Oh.
And they scrapped it. I think they even filmed it. I'm not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure they scrapped it, or at least they put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
And then they've basically done no press with him with Loki.
They haven't done any press with him. I feel like in general their stance has been just neutral. We're not going to say anything until his legal battles are decided.
And
and this is the conspiracy person in me coming out.
Yeah.
I don't know what I trust with all the but he actually, did just Hollywood cover-ups, man.
Yeah.
It's not great. I feel like Disney is very much erring on the caution, but I kind of feel like they're leaning towards
they There's so much writing on him.
Yeah, but I think they are leaning a little bit towards recasting.
Oh, interesting.
Just from like kind of what I can see, and I think there are plenty of options that.
I mean, if he's
the perfect character to recast.
Yes, if Jonathan Majors is found guilty of the domestic violence allegations, then for sure Disney is going to recast him, because there's a lot riding on Kang the character. Yeah. It just sucks for them, and also that like someone who's famous may or may not deserve that fame. That's a whole other conversation. But like, it sucks that like he is so closely tied into Kang, and like he is like his performance in this specifically is considered like one of the main highlights of the movie. And
another darker issue with having a long-term franchise like this. Like
stuff comes out about people.
Like you are locked in on one person. They have to be
9 contracts, like
Ooh. 9. A lot of stuff can happen between 9 contracts.
Sean, were you gonna say something?
Well, do you mind if I say a rumor I've heard just floating around?
Go for it.
Yeah, it's a rumor. So
right. Yeah. Right. There could be no veracity to this whatsoever. But one rumor that just I keep hearing people repeat, and again, who knows if it has any truth to it whatsoever, is that somewhere in his like clause, he's got that he's the only one who's allowed to play a Kang variant, and that's just a rumor I've heard. But I keep hearing people say it to where they're like, oh, we can't, like, it's like we want Kang, but if we have to have Jonathan Majors if we do Kang. So it's like
that
they can't
would be really
separate
smart
so
of
easily.
him and his agent, and so dumb of Disney to have agreed to that.
Yeah. I mean, so like Disney doesn't do like exclusion agreements or like you have to commit to Marvel and you can't do any projects while you're working on Marvel. But they do very much stress like this is your priority. And they also like the flip side of that is like when an opportunity comes up for that character to appear in other things, then like you're gonna get that. Like it's a guaranteed paycheck on a paycheck on a paycheck. So like that's a big thing for people to sign on to. I don't know about that, of them agreeing to be
right. I don't either.
Yeah, and you are only special boy that we can pick for this thing. Don't mess it up. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
And it's not like the early days of Marvel where you could just say, I wasn't paying enough money. Getting out of here. You were the old Terrence Howard. Now you can only get out if you die.
Next time, baby.
Working conditions for VFX artists were not great. Speaking of not great things.
I mean, like, this was like one of the big reasons why there's a whole union now for.
Yes, there wasn't one. And Disney did not forget that. So from this article from Vulture, it says, it turns out critics aren't the only ones who feel that the computer-generated imagery on Quantumania could have used a bit more fine-tuning. Some of the very VFX technicians and artists who created those sequences, who spoke with Vulture on condition of anonymity for fear of professional retaliation, agree that the film's CGI quality control measures were subpar. 2 of the 3 people we interviewed admitted that shortcuts were taken and said critical resources were diverted away to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, the follow-up to 2018's $1.34 billion grossing Black Panther, which was then in post-production around the same time as Quantumania. Several of the same effects houses worked on both films, creating competition for the most highly skilled VFX workers. Everyone is just working around the clock all the time. I read some of I read that full article, and they say that they essentially worked 80-hour work weeks and slept under their desks. There wasn't time for them, like, in between shifts, essentially, to go home and change their clothes to work on this, and then demands for the film were not realistic for the time they had to work. And so many parts of the like some scenes were allegedly cut due to containing unfinished work, and then some, like, the story just had to kind of accommodate whatever was available, and that's the story that they have, which is, I feel like, probably why it's not the strongest out of all of them. It's the least coherent. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, we've never really done any sort of VFX, but I can't imagine that much. Like
80-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I know that like that's Disney is a level of movie where it is just making money for them, but it's just like
that's the thing is like it's making money for you. You're also the biggest company in the world. Like,
yeah,
shell out. Like,
yeah,
just be chill. You know you're gonna make money. Like that.
I like my. This is a whole other conversation, but it was just like companies needing to make more money than they used to make.
Yeah.
I don't super get.
Like saying like the second movie made $600 million, so this one has to make $700 million.
Yeah, and I'm just like, but if you made that much, can't you just make that much again?
Yeah.
I don't, and just like companies like doing cheaper things.
Yeah.
And like saying it's the same product. We went to Subway today.
Well, because it has to be better than last year. If it's not better than last year, then you're failing.
No, you're still successful. You're doing just as well as, but like, so we went to Subway today. The quality of that sandwich is not the quality of Subway that I grew up on.
That's fair.
It is.
I was hungry, so I was satisfied at the time.
I was still satisfied.
Yeah.
It was still a good sandwich, but it was so much smaller than what a Subway sandwich used to be. Like a Subway sandwich was like a wide thing, and this one was very tube-like and like thin.
That's true.
That's why you got to get a flatbread.
That's fair.
They can't skimp you on the flatbread.
It's flat.
It's flat. It's one size.
And they in-house cut their meats now, and because they do that, they do the thinnest setting, and so you're still getting the same amount of slices that you would before, but it's thinner, and it's just because. And I don't like it. And this is not what the podcast is about, but it's just the rant of, if you're being a successful company, why can't you just stay
At that same level.
at that same level? Why do you have to be like, hey, Sean, you know finances and
Numbers.
economy and numbers. What do you got for us?
Well, I do know a bit more about the Subway situation and how there's a whole lot going on with Subway because they don't take the best care of their franchisee owners. So like a lot of times these franchise owners, they could even have, there's like no limit to how many Subways they put around here. So they could technically put 2 Subways literally right next to each other and they'd have to compete against each other. And then Subway, they've got these deals like the $5 footlong and all that. The coupon, well, they don't do that anymore. I wish, but they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, rip. But now even coupons, like if a Subway franchise accepts the coupons, they have to take sort of the however loss of money they would have got out of that out of their own balance, rather than sort of corporate sort of covering the cost of the coupons. So a lot of Subways aren't even taking coupons anymore. Anyway, it's a whole thing. The Subway's got some problems, but I still like their food.
We should pivot to being a Subway podcast.
Maybe here's what you got to do. Go to the Subway in Milford, Ohio. I've gone there. It's my little treat on Fridays. I don't pack my lunch for work. I go to that Subway, and they know my order as soon as I walk into the door.
Nice.
They treat me right. It's the same 3 people.
You're a Subway regular.
It's a younger woman, an older lady, and then like this middle-aged guy who has more energy than anyone in the world. And I walk up, the first lady's like, turkey and flatbread turkey and provolone. Yes, ma'am. Secondly, she doesn't give a care.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
She's old enough to not care.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's just like, all right, man, what are we? And I'm just like, ooh, all right, yeah, we're having a good day now.
In Milford. Whew.
Oh, yeah. No, that's what.
Go to Milford.
Go to Milford. Only for the Subway.
Yeah, I think that's really the only thing that Milford has going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are not sponsored by Subway, but we are sponsored by Milford.
I will sponsor those 3 people until I die.
Do you know why, Sean, other than just greed, why companies insist on like upping their
growth
on growth in that level? Like when a company is making $600 million for one project, why they're like, we will make more.
I mean, I haven't a thought, but Sean, do you have a thought?
I can answer to the best of my knowledge. Mm-hmm. So companies, like, their only real goal is the money. Like, at the end of the day, I think it's legally what they're guaranteed they're supposed to do, like for their shareholders and such. Sure. Their only reason of existence is to just keep making more and more money for their shareholders.
Yeah.
And so that's all it is to it at the end of the day. So trying to make some people rich. So it is just
greed. Yeah. My answer was greed. Just capitalism.
Okay.
Like that's
what I read too. Whenever I was saying it's because it's not, if it's less money then you're failing, I wasn't joking.
No, I know. Like I understand capitalism and greed, obviously. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know if there was some weird other reason of just like
it's their duty to their shareholders.
Okay.
Yeah. Dude.
You mind if could I say something a little about that?
Yep.
So like if you've ever paid attention to the company Funko, depending, I've paid a glancing interest in them, not to give too much away. They have this thing sort of called a quarterly report where they have to report how much they've earned or not earned to their shareholders, and all based on what they choose their expectation to be is how they're going to be received on the market. So like one year they underperformed their estimate and they got slammed on the stock market. But if you look to about a year before, they actually did pretty much the same amount as that year before. And yet, because it didn't meet that new target that they had set for themselves to sort of impress their investors, they just tanked. It's all about this idea of what's being estimated, and they just keep raising the estimates because they just want to keep on making more and more money.
We live in a society.
We sure do.
Yeah. No, that's the other property. This is Marvel.
As a reminder to the listeners, I am a math teacher.
Yes.
I mean, you're a math teacher, but you also like have more experience than I think the three of us do with like stocks and shareholding and that kind of stuff.
You don't know me.
It's true.
I kind of do, Bryce.
Has anyone ever tried to get you into stocks?
I am into stocks because of like him and his dad. Like they are.
We're holding his shares.
No, we're a stock family.
They've diversified their portfolios.
He's joking about Funko and that he's kind of glanced at it.
Because I knew you guys were big into Funko.
Yeah, but I still have stock in Funko.
Oh.
And do you still have stock in Funko?
I got in, I got out, I got in, I got out, so no.
Okay.
Interesting. I did not know that about you two.
Yeah, I mean, he's way more into it than I am because Papa and his dad
raised on it, yeah.
Yeah, and I am more just like orbiting and I jump in occasionally. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I tried to figure it out. I had some friends who were like really into it, and I was just like, I have like an nth percentage claim in some random small, I think it was an oil company.
Yeah.
Through Robinhood.
Oh, like Robinhood is.
It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's stupid. I think I have 3 cents worth.
Now crypto.
That's where the money's at. That's untraceable. Yeah. Now, okay. Oh my gosh. You ever talk to a crypto person?
Filming was postponed from the initial January 2021 start date due to the pandemic.
Yeah. My other point for the VFX thing was I look at Wikipedia first and then look at the movies after that. Wikipedia lists 16 VFX studios that worked on Quantumania. 16 studios with all of these people having 80-hour work weeks to work on this movie. That's ridiculous. Anyway, filming was postponed. It was the initial January 2021 start date due to the pandemic, and then they experienced further difficulties towards the end of filming when over 50 crew members from Pinewood Studios Productions contracted norovirus, mostly the Quantumania and the Indiana Jones crews. That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, another fun fact.
Yeah?
Michael Douglas said he'd be interested in returning for a fourth film if his character dies.
Oh.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's the Harrison Ford route.
Yeah.
Show me off. My story's done.
I'll only do it if you kill me.
George said he'd kill me in the 80s, but he didn't.
Everyone's got very different takes on Harrison Ford, but he's equally angry in all of them. So I think it's time to go to our rating.
Yeah, so we rate movies out of 4, and we have 5 options. 0 out of 4 is,
oh, no. Please stop making movies. You need to stop making movies now.
And a 1 out of 4 is it was a movie. 2 is that's well made. 3 is it's enjoyable and technically good. 4 is Oscar worthy. I gave it, and I think this is because I'm in the extra innings mindset. I gave it a 3 out of 4 because I enjoyed it, and despite the terrible VFX behind the scenes, not the terrible VFX, the terrible behind the scenes drama and nonsense that happened with the VFX side, I still thought it was a technically good movie. Like, it still looks better than a lot of other movies, in my opinion. Like, a lot of work still went into this. So, I thought it was technically well made. And
Yeah.
What would you give it, Bryce?
Yeah.
A very low 2.
A lowercase 2.
A lowercase 2.
Yeah.
I thought it was better than just a movie. Because I had fun.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything. It didn't do what I wanted it to do for me.
That's fair. Yeah.
I also gave it a 2. Just because, like, I left that and I was like, yeah, that was fine. Like, I feel like there are parts where it's a little bit overstimulating. There are parts where I just kind of checked out. Parts where I was like, I was distracted by what was actually happening on screen because I was like, do I know that about that character? Did I see that movie? Like, trying to think back into all of it. If I watched it again, maybe that wouldn't be an issue. But just, like, the in-theater experience of watching it was just like, yeah, this is fine. I am, again, not going to be able to keep 30 plots in my head. So, it's fine. It's not a good entry point if you're trying to get into Marvel later in the game. Don't start with this one.
Sean, what would you give it?
I would call it a solid 3, personally. I liked it. It wasn't what I was expecting, but when I started to think of it as like fun 80s sci-fi movie, but just modern and Marvel, I was like, yeah, I can get on board. This is what I'm here for now.
Yeah,
that's fair. So that means the episode score is 2.5.
That feels fair.
Yeah. That feels reasonable.
Yeah. Cool. So we're halfway there.
And we are living on a prayer.
Yeah. We're not recording the second half tonight because it's 10:30.
Yeah.
But come back to listen to part 2 where we talk about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and the Marvels. Normally we talk about another movie that we have seen besides movies that we've watched in 2023.
I do want to talk about not a movie but a TV special, which is also which
Is it?
Why did you get excited?
you both got excited.
Well, I know what TV
Is it
special.
the special that we're thinking of?
What special are we thinking of?
Not Doctor Who.
It's gotta be.
The one that we watched recently?
You and I watched it.
Yes, that's why I'm excited.
No, I'm talking about Sean.
Oh.
Sean also Sean also nodded.
Everyone got really excited about 4 separate things.
We've all watched TV specialists.
I think I'm on board.
And we don't know which one.
You're cheating on all of us.
I want to clarify. I'm not talking about Doctor Who.
Nah.
I got that.
Okay.
What are you?
I'm talking about another TV special that I don't think Sean's quite there. That is
I'm not there.
another huge crossover event.
Yes.
So I think
So
Sean,
I'm not there.
you might be partly there, but we watched a different one. And this is a Muppets Family Christmas.
Yeah. We had a sick day. We've had many sick days, but we had a sick day where we watched a bunch of Christmas stuff. So we watched like a Christmas, like
So we watched
Sesame Street Christmas,
Muppets Christmas Carol, a very merry
Letters to Santa.
Muppets Letters to Santa or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
And then Muppets Family Christmas.
Muppets Family Christmas.
Muppets Family Christmas has like the capital M Muppets and then
Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, all together.
Oh, wow.
And it's like one like big crossover, and they're at Fozzie Bear's mom's house for Christmas.
Yeah.
And it is really good.
Yeah.
Like it's like yeah, this is really nice.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Anything with Muppets I'm gonna be a sucker for, but it was just like I don't even know I don't think I've ever seen Fraggle Rock. Like
I
know
Rock.
the characters are,
Yeah.
but I've never watched episodes or anything, but even just them, it's just like, little frog boys just
This
hanging
one,
out with
like,
Fraggle.
it just, like, it really holds up. The Letters to Santa one was a little goofy.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite hold up as well.
That era of Muppets was a little bit goofy, because that came out in, like,
That was 2008.
2008.
2009, maybe. I don't know. Sean, what did you think I was talking about?
I didn't hear the question. I just got excited about something else altogether.
What did you get excited about?
I heard TV special and we were talking about Guardians, and I was like, okay, yeah, you're gonna talk about Guardians Christmas.
No.
I know it's bland, but I like it a lot.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know, but it's just a bland answer to what was thrown at here.
No, I just wanted to talk about the Muppets Family Christmas.
It's great.
You should watch it. It's on YouTube for free.
Again, haven't seen any Fraggle stuff. I was able to keep up with that thing the whole time.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what was happening.
That's how you make a cinematic universe.
Yeah. Elmo is in it, but it's before Elmo was like a big Sesame Street character.
Yeah, Elmo doesn't talk.
So you never hear him talk. He's just in the background singing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like a shot of all of them together, and he's like maybe towards the front.
Yeah.
But
What Sesame Street characters were talking?
Big Bird mostly.
Big Bird, the Count.
The Count was. I don't remember watching Sesame Street with the Count being as big as like as big of a feature.
Count was.
He had his own segment.
Yeah, I know he had his own segment, but like outside of that, like interacting with other characters, like
every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I think like before we were kids.
because like the Sesame Street Christmas thing, he also shows up with. It's like Bert, Ernie, and Count.
Bert and Ernie
are all
also
hanging out
talked.
together. Yeah.
And then the two purple monster dudes. Do you remember them?
The two-headed purple monster.
No.
It's one body, two heads.
Yeah.
And they kind of like both
They talk.
gibberish. But there's a part where they're putting on a little play, and that monster is playing a character, and either Bert or Ernie goes he, they, whatever, and I was just like, that's very good to watch in 2023.
Yeah.
They got it.
Yeah.
They got it early.
I was like, okay. And then it ends with Jim Henson looking out at
as himself,
looking out at everybody, and he's like, that's great. All right, come on, Sprocket, we gotta do the dishes.
Yeah.
Oh, bless that man.
Swedish chef trying to cook Big Bird was very good.
There is a turkey that is like, I'm not gonna get cooked, but then the Swedish chef was like, and he just like starts to cook the turkey, and the turkey is like, hey, if you want a big fat bird, look in there.
You don't want me.
And like they open the door into the living room, and like they show Big Bird, and then it gets like a close up on Swedish Chef who's like,
There's always a bigger fish.
yeah.
Oh man, imagine if some like Dark Crystal characters come in later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my other
Yep.
2023 movie.
That was fun.
Yep. But for now, thank you everyone for watching. Please support us if you like us. We have a Patreon and we have an Instagram. Leave likes, subscribe, leave comments, and we will answer questions. If you have a movie you want us to talk about, let us know.
If you have a Muppet special you want us to talk about, let us know.
We will.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Muppet?
Yeah, please tell us in the comments.
Right now.
Right now.
Shout
Do
it
it
at
now.
your screen.
Do it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been us, and we will see you for part 2 of the MCU.
Our final episode of 2023
next week.
Rapid round. What's your favorite Muppet?
Pepe.
Oh. Gonzo.
Sean?
Animal.
Gonzo as well.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Do we do the Kermit wave?